so let's go ahead and
It's
get
on.
started. Thank you, Ms. Christian-Berry. All right, we're going to call the academic committee meeting to order. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
May I ask that we move PE 1.2 up on the agenda until after public comments in order that we could facilitate a staff member for another meeting?
Any objection? No?
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Next thing on the agenda is approval of the January 15th committee meeting minutes.
I move approve.
Thank you, Mel.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. And approval of the January 22nd committee meeting minutes.
I move.
Thank you, Mel.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay.
No public?
No public? And so go ahead, Dr. Campbell.
All right.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today to present to you the compliance for PE 1.2, professional learning. PE 1.2, the teacher will participate in collaborative learning communities and other professional learning to improve instruction and student learning. Based on the evidence provided for this particular PE, we are in compliance. Making connections, new teacher training, new teacher technology training, new principal orientation, new principal cohort, cyber safety, cyber citizenship, and technology training, CRAZE training, school-based professional development, leadership meetings for principals with embedded professional development, Beaufort County Professional Development Days, crisis prevention intervention training, curriculum and technology professional development training, special education training, SIOP, Read to Succeed certification, assistant principals bi-weekly meetings, and African American history instructional materials discretionary grant, and our professional learning communities within our schools. So I want to begin by saying that what was just covered does not include every single professional opportunity in our district, but I wanted to kind of capture the big chunks as it relates to our district. I do also want to let you know that based on specific needs at schools, we also as a division support our schools. For example, we have schools that may need assistance with NTSS, RTI. We've conducted academic assessment visits as well. So we do know that professional development, the best professional development opportunities are those that are not one size fits all approach, that it needs to be customized to the needs of our teachers and our schools, and we try to provide that. So for Beaufort County School District, we recognize that. And for just organizational purposes, the document that you have, there is a framework that kind of organizes our professional development cycle. So I will talk today from 4 frames: the new teacher, administrative professional development, all teacher and administrative PD, which also includes our classified, even though our PE 1.2 emphasizes the teacher, we also provide professional development training for classified. Focus PD as well as our PLCs. So as a district, it is our goal to involve teachers in high quality professional learning opportunities. All of our formal training is documented in Frontline My Learning Plan. And each session is approved through HR. From July 1 until December 1st, we had a total of 311 sessions that were approved through HR that were in my learning plan that either teachers, classified, assistant principals, support staff were able to sign up for those sessions. In talking to Dr. Stratus, that calculated to approximately 1,400 hours of PD given for the first semester. Just a roundabout number.
Dr. Campbell, do you want questions at the end or as you go along?
At the end.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure, whatever
Okay,
works for you,
yes.
sure.
So some of these professional development opportunities range from school-based PD, PLCs, our district and state mandatory professional development, as well as graduate courses. So for our new teacher professional development, in August 5th and 6th, we provided a 2-day training for our new teachers, and the title of that professional learning opportunity was called Making Connections, New Hires, and it was held at Battery Creek, where we had over 200 new hires in attendance. And at that time, teachers had the opportunity to discuss, plan, network, everything centered around instructional strategies to support them in the classroom. And a part of that, I have Appendix A, which is in the document. It's a flyer for that particular day. Those 2 days, I apologize. Every Monday in the summer, which calculates to about 8 to 10 Mondays, our technology department trains our teachers on how to use their devices, which includes basic training for Rubicon, My Learning Plan, emails, Google, anything that's necessary for teachers. And that occurs every Monday, beginning in June for about 3 hours for each of those Mondays. Moving on to our new administrative professional development. So July 30th, we started a new cohort for new principals that have less than 2 years of experience in that position. And we provided somewhat of a PLC for them. A part of our work was a book talk called Hacking Leadership, 10 Ways Great Leaders Inspire Learning, where teachers, students, and parents love. And so our conversation, discussion is centered around each of those chapters of the book, and there are 10 chapters. So it's really nice because there's about 9 to 10 months in a year, so we kind of coordinate each chapter with where we are as it relates to our calendar. A part of that PLC, or professional learning community, we have our experienced principals support that professional learning community. They'll come in and talk about their experience and connect it back to each chapter that we're in. Currently, we're in chapter 6, and we meet at the end of the month. It's a really safe place for new principals. They're able to talk about their experiences. We're able to share just ways that they can become the best instructional leaders within their building. The next is all teachers, all administrators certified, and I also added classified professional development. So the technology team provided a 1.5-hour training to review procedures, policies, district technology centered around cyberbullying, cyber citizenships, and communication. And every teacher went through that particular training. On January 6, 2020, all certified and classified employees participated in a half-day session for our CRAZE training, which is the Civilian Response to Active Shooting Events. We had 5 sites that offered the training. We had an AM and a PM session where people had the option of choosing what session was best. Everyone who participated in the training signed in. We have documents of that, and we even had a session that was offered at May River for our Spanish-speaking employees, and the presentation was done in Spanish on that particular day. On February 14th, which is this week, all of our principals turned in a plan for the day to support their school-based professional development. A lot of the plans that were submitted centered around either their school choice options, some centered around literacy, trying to think of all of them. PSYOP training, those, they were all,
Inclusion.
yes, were submitted to me.
Are the biggest ones.
Yes. So all administrative professional development, so monthly we meet, but what we're doing this year is we're embedding the professional development in the meeting, so it's not just sit and get, like there's an embedded piece of professional development in our meetings. Right now, we're working with 2 professors at the Citadel, one Dr. Westbury, one Dr. Murray, and they're working with our principals as well as our assistant principals and coaches. The last meeting we had with Dr. Murray was legally speaking. He really talked about discipline issues and decisions as it relates to legal issues, just making sure that we're following the law when we make decisions by children. And Dr. Westbury entered into a series with instructional supervision for our principals, looking at lesson plans, looking at walkthroughs, just how do you build that instructional capacity within your building as an instructional leader.
And if I could just add to that, we've also looked at adding Dr. Gloria Holmes, Dr. Linda Levine, Morgan Lee, and a Dr. Jefferson with regard to cultural relevance and competency.
Also,
So those she doesn't have the names, but
yes, ma'am.
work that we're adding to her. And not just the principals, but that's another time and place.
Yes. So the next is the focused professional development. So every year, October 1st, all of our principals submit a professional development plan. Appendix G is an example of what that plan looks like. All principals submit that plan. Throughout the year, if there are changes based on data, they will adjust those plans, update it, and submit that information back to us. And those plans were due in October. August 7th through 9th, we offered our non-violent crisis intervention. It's a district goal that every school has a crisis, a CPI team, which includes one of the school's administrator along with 2 other members. And so we try to offer the crisis prevention training as often as possible so that we're in compliance or aligned to our goals. August 12th through the 16th was the first week back for our teachers. At that time, principals submitted professional development offerings for their building. What we try to do the first week of school, principals really want access to their people. So what we try to do is only interrupt that week with 1 day. So Wednesday is typically the district day. The other 4 days are for our principals to plan and provide that professional development opportunities for their teachers and staff. All of that is submitted to us in a plan form for feedback and review. October 18th, our special ed teachers, paraprofessionals, and related services participated in a training, the autism spectrum disorder, and they signed up in my learning plan for that particular training, and that was offered through the leadership of Dr. Juliet White. October 26, 2019, our Beaufort County Education and Technology team hosted a curriculum and technology training on a Saturday at Robert Smalls. We had approximately 40 teachers that participated in that. At that time, it was an opportunity where our technology team were able to individualize the support for each of the teachers as it related to technology in the classroom. We have 2 elementary teachers that are currently going through a professional development cycle for PSYOP. That's Red Cedar Elementary as well as Pritchardville Elementary. And that was also included in their professional development plan based on their needs of their school. As a part of the South Carolina Legislation Act 284, which is Read to Succeed, there's a state requirement that teachers receive their Read to Succeed endorsement. Beaufort County has partnered with the Department of South Carolina, and we have our high school teachers, it's not exact, but the majority of our teachers that go through this are our high school teachers to get their training and coursework through virtual South Carolina, because many of our high schools don't have literacy coaches. Our literacy coaches are at the elementary and middle, and they're trained to provide the Read to Succeed, so they offer that opportunity at their school. So that we made sure that our high school teachers didn't miss that opportunity. We partnered with South Carolina Department of Education, and we offer this coursework online to our high school teachers. When they complete that course, they submit the information to HR, and we reimburse them 50% of that course. So the course is $80, we reimburse them $40 of the $80. Our instructional services department, our instructional service department, we host our assistant principals bi-monthly professional development. On Thursday will be the third professional development cycle. We have Dr. Murray, who will lead the discussion on discipline and legal issues as it relates to how we interface with our students. In addition, we applied for an African American History Instructional Materials Discretionary Grant. And a part of that grant is to work with our social studies teachers on how they can embed African American history in the work that the South Carolina standards. And that was presented at our last board meeting. The grant was worth $60,000, and we're really excited about that. So another opportunity for professional development. Last is our professional learning communities. So we did a survey with all of our principals, and keep in mind we have a number of new principals, so just making sure that we're aligned to what their expectations are in the school. We sent them a survey, all principals a survey, and just asking them simple questions. Do you conduct PLCs? And so from that survey, 92.9% of our principals indicated that they conduct some sort of PLCs. So with the other less than 8%, I did follow up phone calls, like, what do you mean? So at the time of the survey, they were rebuilding what that looks like in their building, and so they assured me that PLCs will continue. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Of that survey, 75% of the principals surveyed thought that their PLCs were in good shape, good. They would rank their PLCs good. 14% of them surveyed indicated that they were exemplar PLCs, and 10% ranked them poor, like there's major work to be done. So with that information, that kind of guides our work and how we can support. We've had a number of our instructional services department, a division, go out to support our schools as it relates to what is going to help you make have stronger professional development communities. I think the last statement of my documentation is that we provide principals and teachers with surveys, and with that, we know that we still have work to be done. And Dr. Stratus and I have had a number of conversations about what does that work look like. And to simplify that, it's really to build that instructional capacity at the building level. They're the leaders of the building, and our work is to make them stronger, so that when you have those strong instructional leaders at lead, you tend to build that capacity within the building. So that is the work that we have to do. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple.
Yes, ma'am?
So one of my, it's more of a comment.
Okay.
Although I think all of these trainings that are listed here under the statement of compliance,
Yes.
I'm not sure all of them, I have a question how some of them relate to actually improving instruction.
Okay.
You know, I don't know, craze training, how does that improve instruction? And it might, but that's just a question.
I'll go
Yeah,
to Matt.
yeah.
So if I have basic safety and I have a plan, I'm able to take away the fear and continue going forward.
Okay, so you're taking it down to that level.
I
Okay.
have, in a sense, with students, yes.
Okay, because I'm looking at this PE as being pretty specific to collaborative learning communities and geared toward improving instruction and student learning. But I get that, I understand. So on your, the stuff that happens in August, like the CPI training, if teachers are hired after that, are they brought in
Yes,
for that? Okay,
We provide CPI training probably twice a month,
okay,
and it's actually off in
yeah, yeah.
the hallway next door.
okay,
So that's ongoing. We
Okay.
provide that ongoing. Matter of fact, I don't know if it was approved, but training for the 14th. And even not, if it's not the 14th, it's at least twice a month that we provide the CPI training.
okay.
And we have trained trainers.
Right.
So they're trained to provide that.
They're
I know,
certified
yes,
trainers,
yes, yes,
yeah, I
ma'am.
was a certified
Yes,
trainer
ma'am.
in that,
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
yeah. Okay,
Can I follow on to that
Yeah.
question then? So along that line, so you have, I saw the brochure and stuff that the mandatory 2 days in the summer for the new hires, is that right?
Oh, yes, yes,
Right.
making the connections.
Yeah, and so they get paid $100 a day.
Correct, because it's outside their contract base.
Right, okay. And, so that's mandatory, but the Mondays during the summer obviously are not.
So when we hire,
Uh-huh.
they come in on Mondays to get their badges, get, acclimated as a new employee. And so a part of that is the training with their devices.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what the technology teams rotate every Monday as a part of it.
So
Orient-
whoever might be in town already, so let's, so that's all during the summer. I'm just saying the school doesn't start till August. I'm sure some of our new hires don't come till July.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, so they
Yeah.
just make it available to whomever is a new
Right,
hire
so it
and
starts in
town.
June, yes, the
Right.
first Monday of June, once
Right.
we're out of school.
Right.
And 8 to 10 sessions throughout the summer. And so they come in, they get their devices, because a lot of our teachers that we hired, they want to get their devices, they want to get, acclimated.
Right.
So they provide that 3-hour training on Mondays for the new teachers.
So how about the teachers that come in once school started?
They still come in and get their badges.
Yeah, they still get their badges.
But how do they
So
get
the-
trained
our-
in all the different, like you said,
Yes.
Google Classroom and the ClassLink and all those kinds of
So
things?
our technology teams, they deploy themselves there and provide that individual training for the new teachers. So like our coaches, our technology coaches, they'll provide that training for them. Those are the people that actually provide the training on the Mondays as well.
So it's ongoing
Yes.
during the academic
Yes.
school year.
Yes.
do we have like a checklist? I'm just thinking, when a new teacher comes in and there's a checklist of the things that they need to be oriented on and those, and maybe it's less necessary at the beginning when we have the whole cohort, but as other people come in, having something like that where they could check off to make sure that they've received all that basic training.
Yeah, so I don't know of a checklist. Again, I'm only speaking for instructional services, because we kind of partner together with HR and instructional services to have our new teachers oriented. So I wouldn't want to say there isn't a checklist, but in instructional services, I don't think we have a checklist. But that's something that we can look into.
I'm making note of that.
It just like, because some of
Yeah.
these things on here, instructional plans, you know, what do you, you know, what does a good lesson plan look like?
Right, so can I tell you about that real quick?
Okay,
So,
sorry.
so in the 2-day training that we provide, August 5th and 6th.
Right.
It is aligned to our South Carolina 4.0 rubric.
Mhm.
So each of the sessions are aligned to each of those indicators of the 4.0 rubric. So I want to tell you that part.
Got it.
And so we have district people like myself or a coordinator present, depending on what section we're talking about, to our teachers. So it's not a checklist, but we're utilizing the document that they're going to see throughout that year and aligning that information. Oh,
Right, so for me, the checklist is for the people that come in after, that
I
have
got you.
missed all
I
that.
got you.
How do we
I
make
got you.
sure, see all these little
I
blocks
got
here?
you.
Everything that's covered in those 2 days, which is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure that they get all that same stuff?
Right,
That's-
and that's right along with what I was trying to find out, is not the ones that, not our new hires that
Not the
show
new
up in
hires.
Right.
Not
Like
the
the
new
ones
hires
that
that
we hired in
show up in
December.
July,
Yeah.
the ones that show up the week before school starts, because they haven't been able to sell their house. It's exactly,
Right.
you know, that's what I'm wondering, because you know that is a lot of reason why teachers
Yeah.
are overwhelmed, because they don't know all those
You're right.
systems.
Yeah.
They don't understand all that, the new hires. Mr. Campbell?
As a comment, on the other hand, that's one of the things that help to overwhelm them, just going back and getting all this thing done in a certain short period of time that they're
It's true.
on them. But my question is 1,400 PD hours.
And that was an approximate. I took,
1,500. Let's go. Even if you missed,
okay.
how does that relate to how many hours were possible?
So, I don't know if this will answer your question. So, within a 5-year cycle, we have to get recertified. And a part of the recertification is 120 hours. So we average, we gauge teachers. You need to have at least 24 to 25 hours per year so that you're not at this deficit at the end of your 5-year cycle. So I'm not saying that answers the question. What I was trying to convey,
Yeah.
what I was trying to convey is just the number of professional development hours just within this semester.
Yeah, that even makes it a
Yes,
more
sir.
difficult question in terms of how this relates, because, you know, let's say 24 hours, how many teachers are in that research
Yes.
category?
Right, because not all
Yeah.
teachers are in that research
Right,
cycle.
well, the numbers, you know, probably substantial.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, you're talking 1,400 hours. That's probably not a touch of the iceberg. Do they go independently and get those
So let me
hours
clarify
that they don't
that.
get?
So this is only what was registered in my learning plan, not beyond that, not, so.
Or
if-
at
I understand.
college courses, university
this is-
courses.
yes.
Go towards
These
Yeah,
were-
recertification.
these were the-
yeah, that's all.
But no, you're driving the bus too.
Right, yeah, I'm driving the bus
You're
too.
driving the
How
bus.
effective is this in terms of assisting
I got
the
you.
teacher in reality?
And I could share that within this house, we probably put out in a 5-day work week. This probably was 3 days a week, that there's ongoing something happening in the building with teachers. If not more, and we're running concurrent sessions. They remain busy. It gets to a point of how much human capital that those within the building can keep pushing forward and be effective at some of the other work that we also execute. But I understand when you're driving the bus, is it enough to meet the demands of our teachers? And the question to that is, how many educators do we have? And I started playing with the math on that, if we did something different with a stipend to be, the math gets big.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I know, I'm looking at the other end too.
Yeah,
It's the resources more than the results.
yes.
Yeah,
Or
so
are we giving
that's-
too much?
Yeah, we're
that's
doing too much with
Yeah.
so little numbers.
And that's actually something we could look at to see how effective is to turn out it, but we've had full responses, but I'll take a better look at that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the hours, that's all I'm looking
The
at,
hours.
total hours,
And we
and
can,
what's relatively possible in
yeah,
terms of those teachers.
our
If
most,
everybody took, you know, 50% of the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
30%, that looks small in my mind, because I'm, not privy to the base information. Question 2, I had another question. 70% said good. How do you know what good means?
So this was a self-reflection question. I was waiting for that. So I didn't have, I
That's just
get it. It was, when I sent the survey, it was a self-reflection question. It was just principles, because we have our idea of, based on data points, what we think it is. So we
Right.
wanted to find out, based on what the principal provided in the survey, was that kind of aligned. Based on that, the focus, professional development, we know what schools we need to work with, just based on several data points. But this was a self-reflection question, and I would say, based on our data, it's a little inflated.
Well,
yes.
people are going to say good things
Right,
about themselves.
right.
I hope.
Right, so, but I wanted to see where we were, and there were principals that were being honest. They were just saying, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And some of those were aligned to what data points we have in instructional services.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked that question is further than that question is, you said that schools would, try to accommodate the population, and some words you said that.
Yes, sir.
So one size don't fit all.
Correct.
But those PLCs are definitely geared toward that in my mind. And if they don't have, a direction, and that's us driving that kind of innovation, that's not gonna happen. It is gonna be one size fit all, because they're gonna look at the template or what PLCs are, and they're gonna do what it says to do. Yeah.
So if I, there's 3 points. One, in your handout from Dr. Campbell, if you look at page 18 through 19, 20, 21, and I'm gonna, through 20, it takes it all the way through to page 27. The reason I'm pointing this out, one of the first things, actually 28, one of the first things we did when I came here was have the principals really look at their professional development plan for themselves in relation to their school and provide information as to what they're doing at their schools, and had to have that conversation. Is this aligned to your school renewal plan? And it was probably one of the first stretching of the rubber band that I did here, right? There was some pushback, and as I shared with Dr. Rodriguez, in order to have growth, that's what a rubber band does, right? That's how it works, tension. Not to the point of snapping it, but you need to have some tension in order for a rubber band to work. And that was one of the first things I put into place here is take a look, what are we doing? Talking about the PLCs, at looking at our comparative data of last year, right, to map data, what we did was look at the schools that had some nice growth, had some conversation, we're taking membership of our division to go look at modeled PLCs. So now when they go talk to other principals, now we have some exemplary practices of what it looks good. And I think that's something that's unique now that we're doing with our division. We may not have done that in the past. Let's go take a field trip. Let's go see who's doing it really well. And let's spend some time with these people. So that's something that we're doing to build our own capacity within our team, so that when they work with coaches, that can go to the next level, all right? So we are trying to get the administrators at the school site to really take a closer look at themselves and really map it out, knowing that these documents are living documents, and, they're not imprinted, but, we had to push a little bit to be a little more formulated at our work, not just signing off travel documents. Okay? Yeah.
That was my concern there. Question that I want.
And thanks for agreeing with the little tension.
Oh, yes.
And Mel, I was going to ask that same thing about how do you know? What's the criteria for that it was a good PLC? Is it because you see it in a walkthrough? you see what's being done and taught in the PLC, and then you see it in observation or in a walkthrough, how do you know it's a good PLC? Because it's not good unless the students are,
Yes.
it's an instructional strategy or a student strategy or whatever, so.
Student and
That is
administrator.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, apart, before, after, I think it was after the survey was completed, we provided like a PLCs. Oh, sorry, PLCs, what does a good PLC look like? Like, we did the self-reflection first, but then we sent that document out, like, hey, when you have your PLCs, this is what it needs to look
Yeah.
like. So hopefully, with that support from our department, we'll continue to see our growth.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I may add is that maybe what we could look at is providing a rubric for measurement.
That's just what I was gonna,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, because there's actually through Grant Wiggins' work, Stan's work, even Marzano's work, they have a rubric for measurement with regard to what is a good PLC, so they can be self-reflective that way, so we have something that's vetted.
Right.
And some
I wrote
training
that down.
around that rubric.
Yes,
So
yes,
let's
yeah.
train what, our administrators, what the components are of and using that metric as the main training tool would be
Yeah.
great.
Because the PLCs is gonna be the vehicle for most of our professional development. I mean,
Yes.
Summer Institute has gone, at least, so it's gonna be very important to know what a good PLC is. Dr. Campbell, just on page 3, you mentioned that, administrators and they can submit to HR to see whether or not a particular session can receive, credit and so on, right? And then just another comment you made about when Mr. O'Bine was talking about the checklist. Sometimes I'm wondering, is HR and ISD working in silos? Or, you know what I mean? And how about to me, it's,
Yeah.
Well,
so.
So last year, I could say, yes, we worked in silos.
Okay,
I think this year we are making many opportunities to work together. Reggie and I, we communicate based on professional development, so he knows exactly what we're offering in instructional services. So
Even our principal training, AP training,
right,
that information is shared with HR. They
Yes.
have received a copy of what we're doing, so that when these individuals submit for either a recommendation
Right.
or to sit at the table for an interview, there's certain things that can be added on in conversation. So we are
Working
working much
together.
closer at
Right.
integrating what we're doing.
and
because we wouldn't expect HR to be able to say, okay, that's a good PD. That would have to come from ISD,
Yes.
correct?
Right,
Yes.
right. And then the other thing too, I wanted to say that HR in many instances are included in the professional development with us for, like our new principals, they're in that training with us. So I think we're working better together, the two departments, because we go hand in hand. I mean,
Well, absolutely.
like our work impacts the
Right.
recertification and the recertification impacts our work, so.
Sure, it does.
Yes.
It's,
I'm constantly in Carolyn Jenkins, who supervises the My Learning Plan portal. I'm always in her office, like, hey,
Yeah.
giving her, making sure that we're kind of aligned. So I think we're making better strides toward not working in silos,
Yeah.
but
So-
working together.
Just to follow up on that, would it be safe to say, the way this reads here is that district and school administrators as well as teacher leaders submit all formal, small group and full staff training that are at least 1 hour in length into Frontline for approval by HR.
Yes.
It should be approved by ASD.
No, well, Reggie Dees approves it. That's an
But
HR.
but
okay,
how,
okay,
that's
yes,
exactly what we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my point.
Right, so
That should be HR is approving
They're
that.
asking, who's doing confirmation of the instructional component of
Right.
this,
That
right?
it's
Exactly.
appropriate to get,
So when
Yeah.
Reggie gets to the point that because he's a prior administrator.
Right.
He's not just director of HR, but he's a prior administrator, he comes and asks.
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
direct- It
He
is
does.
pop into the door, take a look at it is conversation. Now, we're looking at redefining the process. That's something that we could have a conversation, right? To go forward, but then I'm gonna pitch back and say, ooh,
Oh, I mean, only if you think a change in process is needed. I mean, that's
Well,
what it is,
but
we
it
need
makes
to
sense
ask.
what you're saying, right? Is there an academic value tied to this?
There has to be.
Right, is there and that was the
Yeah.
key question you put forward.
Yeah.
Right, so that's something, I'll add this to this and have a conversation with HR, okay?
Yeah, going forward, I mean, there's no guarantee that the next HR person is gonna be as qualified
Right,
as Reggie.
exactly.
Cross-mapping, but we wanna.
He made a deal with me. This is Reggie, there's me.
We wanna put something in
I'm
place.
sorry,
that-
Reggie goes nowhere.
Right.
He's a good man.
Nobody control that.
You're 100% right
Yeah,
with that, Mel.
yeah.
You are. But Reggie's I have this, he is not shy to come ask. I'm very impressed with him as a professional. He comes and asks and he gets input.
Mhm.
He does.
That's great, that's
Yeah, and
great.
it's-
And
and it
that didn't sound like it in here.
I
It
know.
didn't
Yeah,
sound like there was
yeah.
any,
Right.
you know.
I'm gonna, because it would be a process change a little bit, I can't put it here without having that conversation.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what
That
I'm
makes
saying.
sense
Right.
respectively,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And then the sessions that you had for the assistant principals, and I looked at, I think you submitted one of the sign-in sheets,
Oh.
you know, as some of your evidence.
Yeah.
So do you differentiate between elementary and middle and secondary, between middle and high? Do you differentiate in that AP?
So, because it's a small group, we have about 6 members that are part of the cohort.
Chairs down here too? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, because it's a small cohort,
Yes?
we differentiate through topics, so it's not just geared towards secondary, but not pulling the elementary principals out of the cohort and having something separate. So I
Also
don't,
the APs, I think.
are you saying APs or, oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking new
But
principals,
the-
sorry.
No, the APs.
The reality is though, as an AP, we want them to be rounded in all topics. So they would have the capability to sit for principalship.
At any level.
Yeah, yes,
That makes
yes.
sense.
And you want the
So-
common language
Yeah,
with all,
that makes
because
sense.
sometimes there's miscommunication.
Yeah. And so is that attendance, I mean, and what happens if they miss that? If the AP doesn't, I mean, so it's just an extra kind of.
The majority of the APs do attend, they do. I mean, I have to sometimes transition into a larger room because
That's great.
we have
That's right, because
APs.
you're not in capacity.
Yeah,
That's- it's-
Yeah, so a lot of principals aren't gonna send all of their APs, you know, they may send 2 this
Right.
time and the other 2
Right.
the next time, so, but yes, I have representation from all
Yeah,
schools.
that was great to see, that I didn't
Yes.
realize that there was just specific to APs.
Yes, APs.
so.
And we've even extended the training for our coaches with Dr. Westbury, our literacy, numeracy, and our instructional coaches. We had 40 coaches here last week.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and they were on task.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we're trying to bring that common language to principal, AP, coaches, so it's
Yeah.
one lens.
I know the last time I sat before you, Ms. Fidrich, you asked a question about funding sources for professional development.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do some research PD funding comes from, of course, general funds, Title I. Title II, which is the class size reduction, is a part of, PD can be embedded in that. Title III, which is our ESOL, ELL population. Title IV, which is new, about 2 years ago. Title IV is everything except core subjects, so like electives,
Okay.
Montessori, IB, GT, PE, health,
Okay.
those professional, so it's geared, it's focused for that professional development. IDEA, which you would know that, and our ATSI schools, they have to build a professional development plan in there, and also grants, which we have an example of our African American history
Yeah.
grant.
Great,
So I just wanted to kind of give you the funding sources for
Yeah.
the PD.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Do I have a motion? Can someone want to make a motion about accepting the evidence as shown here and
To take to the full
To
board.
take to-
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what
Conditions.
has to be, right, yeah.
Right, absolutely, to
Okay.
accept this evidence here as applied, so that we can bring it to the full board and with a positive recommendation.
I'll move it.
Okay?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Great.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell, very much, it was very informative.
I didn't want to go to my binder.
Okay, that would be for the next board meeting, I just wanted to point of clarification. clarification, or should?
You're having the agenda setting tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
give us a heads up, yes, ma'am, thank you.
That would be great.
She said, no, right?
I gotta get to another one. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, Dr.
very
Randall.
much. Okay. Are you up next, Daniel?
I think so.
All right. PE 1.1.
So PE 1.1, this evening, this afternoon, this is, been sitting waiting for an agenda since November. So basically, the PE itself is to provide equitable and challenging learning experiences and ensure all students have sufficient opportunities to develop learning, thinking, and life skills that lead to success at the next level. So that is the PE. It does hit the TRP, the renewal plan of 3.1, advanced ed goals of 3.1. So basically, we've always measured this historically through MAP data, SC Ready, SC Pass, end of course exams, graduation rate, and now we can actually add on that next one, connecting to the next level, the college or career readiness. So we've got a new metric, so we can report that. So what we've done this year is actually breaking everything down just by achievement gap. So when we present everything in the fall, typically, we do that at the open board. We do give you what we can at the time, and we tell you that we PE 1.1 broken down by achievement gap. It's made the agenda now, and you see every one of the assessments is broken down by achievement gap. So we can start out with MAP. It's fall MAP. This was presented in November, so it's fall MAP. 3rd through 5th reading, 6th through 8th reading, 3 through 5 math, 3 through 5 readings, the first 2 slides. But we see improvement for all students in those areas. We look at all students. If we look at 3rd through 5th ELA, for example, 42.3%, this is projected proficiency on spring assessments. We moved to 46% in the fall of 18-19, so over last year we do see a 3.7% improvement of what projected proficiency. And then we also have to understand and realize that we still have achievement gaps. While growth in the all student is great, we also need to see movement, specifically when we look at our EL students, our English language students, when we look at our students with disabilities, and then we look at pupils in poverty. Those historically are significant achievement gaps in future time.
You on SC Ready or?
I'm on the first, I'm on NWA map right now. So should be slide 3. So, page 2.
And map is
Yeah, the first one is reading, the second one is
Yep.
math.
So the first one's reading.
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
That, what she had up there was, yeah, she had up
Looking at that.
South Carolina Ready, that's why the scores weren't.
Gotcha, sorry. So,
That is
Yes,
slide
that's-
1.
Yes,
What page is
yeah.
page
This is the
page
first
2 of
one,
the overall.
yeah.
So, yes, now we're all on the same slide.
Yeah.
So 34.5% projected proficiency,
Yeah.
3rd through 5th grade rating, 37.6% in the fall of 19, so we see a 3.1% improvement in the all students. Our female students remain the same, roughly. Male students did show a little bit of a reduction, as well as our African American students. Hispanic students showed, yes sir?
How can that be? Female students remain the same, male students down 0.9%, but yet the overall change is plus 3.1%?
Well, it's across the overall, the all students. So
You mean all students, you mean other categories?
no, there's not other categories. It's I've rolled all 3 through 5 up together. So it's treating all those when we're looking at it this way. It's safe to assume that necessarily all grade levels have the same in count with the same male-female breakdown. So 3rd grade doesn't necessarily have to be a 50-50, it's the same weighting as 4th and 5th grade. No, I understand your question, yes. We would want to look at this and just say, yes, we would want to see a 3.1% increase in one of the others. I
Yeah,
understand, yes.
6 point.
Yep,
on
yep,
one of
6
the-
on one,
that's
yep,
what
yep,
they're
yep.
low, but I mean, I think the male and female don't have that kind of disparity to show me that 3.1, and you're suggesting that the grades do. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade might have that kind of disparity.
Correct, yep, so we're assuming that they're all the same count at 3, 4, and 5, too. Yeah, so there's some assumptions when we roll it to the max. What we do see here, for positive improvement, we do look at the other subgroup as well as the English language learners subgroup. We are seeing promising growth at the EL for the English language students.
But we still see a decline for our African American students.
Yep, we see a slight decline of 1% when we look at 3rd through 5th reading. When we look at 6th through 8th reading, we see just a slight uptick of 0.1%.
But all in all, we're only seeing just about a third of our students meeting or exceeding, right?
So meeting or exceeding, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
Now we have to look at also how that aligns then to SC ready and what is expected on the assessment. I'm not making an excuse, not
Yeah.
saying that these numbers are acceptable, but when we look mathematically at what the state draws the cut point of proficiency, when it's hovering in the 60 percentile kind of range to meet those levels, depending on the grade and stuff, it varies.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it's 34%. These numbers match up closely to the percentile cut score. I'm not saying it's acceptable, again, and not saying that we can't do better. But when we look back at SC Pass, when we had SC Pass,
Right.
the cut point was right around the 33rd to 34th percentile. That's when we were in the 60s and 70% of students meeting
Yeah.
the expectation. When you take an assessment and you increase the rigor, or you increase the expectation to show proficiency,
Yeah.
we do see the change drastically. And I can tell you that Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Stratus, we are on this, we're working on this.
Oh, I have no doubt, yeah.
So yeah,
Because this is, I mean,
is,
it's gotta change.
and honestly, you know, this made the agenda very, 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 very late. Usually it's November, so it's shortly right after the report cards come out. We can kind of share this as a brief data element. We're 2.5 months away from the next testing cycle. So this is almost as old, in some cases, as it can get. So when we get to SC Ready, SC Pass, EOCs, graduation rate, it's almost as old as we can report. So moving on to page 3, we do get into the SC Ready data, again, ELA and mathematics. Overall, we're seeing positive motion for the all students. We do still have achievement gaps. Some highlights, 3rd through 5th ELA. We see the other subgroup again, which is a very small subgroup. So even though huge gains with other students that with 2 or more races, it's a smaller subgroup. And then pupils in poverty for ELA for both. That's something to celebrate. Poverty students showing a reduction in the gap. That's trending in the right direction. And that's for both ELA and math, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, both areas. Poverty students are starting to close that gap. It is still a substantial gap, but they are starting to close. It's starting to move in the right direction.
Can you attribute that to what?
If I knew, I
I
wouldn't be
didn't
sitting
know.
here this afternoon. I'd be somewhere on the trail.
I know, but I just didn't know if there's any conversation, around that, like, okay, look we introduced more PSYOP training throughout the district. We did,
And-
students
yeah,
in trauma and
and-
poverty. We
and-
had, is there something you can,
Because of the timing of the SC ready testing, it's hard for me to pull from that because
I
that
know,
wasn't
I
part of
know.
that.
And we had an interim superintendent.
You're
There was a
right.
lot of things in transition
Yeah.
to try to be able to nail
Yeah.
something down as this is what we did.
right, but I anticipate that's going to be greatly looked at so that you can make some predictions and build on success or make some changes, because otherwise the numbers don't mean it, just the numbers are just what they are. They're just, so here we go.
And we have to also take into consideration, this is only up until, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
I mean, the area to really put emphasis as well as looking at graduation,
Correct.
right? What does a child leave with at 8th grade? And the readiness for that graduation as well. And sometimes this type of data gets looked at and then questions a graduation rate, not with the realization that there's a maturity factor, growth factor,
Sure.
there's a cognitive ability that's happening, and I'll be direct, it's 4 more years of impact of educators with the child.
So switching over to SC Pass, we're gonna look at science and social studies. Remember, these are very, 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 very specific. So this is not 3 through 5 anymore. So the end counts get a little bit smaller. But we do see for third grade, 3rd through 5th science, we do see positive trends when we're looking at students with disabilities, our poverty students, and our Hispanic students. We do lose in the African American subgroup, but we are seeing some positive trends in some of our historically underachieving subgroups. Same, the poverty students, 6th through 8th science, showing a reduction in the gap as well. And overall, in science, all students are growing as well. Social studies, overall, losing just a little bit of ground, but the sign there, the brightness, our EL students, our students with disabilities, and our pupils in poverty did not lose ground and started to close the achievement gap. So last year, good things are all students aren't where we need them to be necessarily as well, but there are some subgroups that are showing promise.
Have both of these tests been continued?
Science is,
Yes, social studies has been pulled. Okay.
social studies is, yeah. All but US history.
So when
But
you
who
measure-
takes the science?
So it's the odd number of years in
It's
science,
not, so
yeah.
when you see 3rd through 5th, you know,
It's
it
3rd
is-
through
it is
5th, it's
third
one
and
grade.
fifth, right?
It's-
I mean,
it's- And 3rd graders don't take SEPAD at all, so it's just 5th.
Just as good, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
really a small
yes.
group.
It is. And the House, the legislation now would cut all social studies
Social
testing,
studies,
but US history.
Yep. Which makes it a private content area, and I'll leave that alone.
So speaking of that, US history, we're moving into end of course exams. So we see Algebra 1, English 1, biology, and US history.
And here, there's a changing up for the upcoming year.
So this is the last time we can report English 1
Right.
as a whole. Fall English 1 scores, only a small subgroup of the students had to take that for accountability purposes only. Those are overage English 1 students and repeaters. The rest of the students, the cohorts, have
Okay.
transitioned over to English 2.
English too.
So we have another change in assessment in the state of South Carolina. We are moving to English 2. Spring will be the first full cycle to cut this year. We'll have reportable data come spring of 2020.
Yeah,
Just so you, easier to compare things, right?
Yeah, it lines to nothing at that point.
Exactly.
about Algebra 1, was all our middle school teach Algebra 1?
No. I have one middle school that doesn't offer it for children. I don't have the cost for that yet, Mr. Campbell. And there are availability for one middle school that my children go across to another school. So one of the things that we've looked at for the math adoption that's coming in for this year, I had a few principals who are math teachers sit for the adoption, looking at how can we drill down more of the algebraic thinking into earlier grades. And that was the challenge that I put forward to. They're down to 3 vendors, and they're probably gonna be down to 2 to pick, to recommend over to the state for us. But not all the schools are provided, because they don't have enough qualified kids for a full section of the algebra.
Mr. Campbell, that same question was one that I was going to ask at the end.
But they still can take it.
The students still go over to Well Branch Early College.
So, Mr. Fallon, I know you haven't finished this yet, but just, you know, when you said this PE has historically been answered with the achievement data, but when I was reading this PE, it encompasses so much more, just like a question that Mr. Campbell asked.
Right.
So does that information get brought out too, or just historically, it's just been
Yeah,
this?
Historically, it has been this.
So
Now, moving
that's-
forward, do I think it needs to be more of the instructional practices and less of the data?
Yes.
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 but that hasn't existed.
Okay.
This is an autopsy-ish of last year.
Uh-huh.
So Dr. Stratus, Dr. Rodriguez, they have not been here to say, this is the instructional strategies we're doing, this is what we're adopting, this
Right.
is what we're doing holistically, these are our policies and procedures.
And the equitable
Access and
access,
equity.
exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So that would be
Yes.
something that we would look forward to, a more comprehensive, including the
And-
data and including the equitable and challenging learning
Correct.
experiences for all.
And I believe this is, PE 1.1 came to this end when PE 1.3, I believe it was, and PE 1.1, they were both consolidated into one. I believe it was
Okay.
PE 1.3, if you look historically, got into that as well. But they were.
Comprehensive assessment?
Yeah, comprehensive assessment system and PE 1.1, which was looking at achievement.
Achievement data, yeah.
Were combined into 1.1 and became achievement data.
Okay. I
I
think there's a
think we
lot
need
of.
to, we need to separate this. I mean, I think the very important question is, does everyone have access? Is there
Right.
equitable access? And what are we doing to
And that in
encourage
itself-
our underperforming students? What are we doing to get them ready to push them into those classes and that type of thing?
This presentation should be, what are we doing that has resulted in the closing of achievement gaps? Or
versus the.
versus the actual just, here's the data.
Right,
Yes,
totally agree.
yes. I think Tony has a question back there.
Let me see if I understand. Students who are not taking algebra in the middle school are not counted in this assessment, correct?
They are in this data
Do
reported
they, do
here.
they take the test?
Yes.
Yes, they have to know.
So
They-
if
they
they,
get a
if
Carnegie
they do
credit.
not take the course, they're required to take the test?
You take the test if you take the course. It's a state, yeah, it's a.
But I was referring to the statement you made that one school does not offer,
Right, but the students go to another school.
they go to another
And
school.
there's computations.
So every
calculate-
child that's taken the course is reflected on this assessment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If they choose to take the test.
So it's an option.
Well,
Well,
they
no.
might be absent or they might
No.
drop the class,
Okay.
so,
No,
yeah,
no,
so I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's important
Every student that takes the
clarification.
test is in here,
For
yes.
end of course, all right, an EOC, you must sit for that EOC to obtain your grade. It is 20% of the final grade.
Okay.
So I just want that
Yeah, that was-
clarification, yeah. Okay, so not every middle school gives the course, but all schools at all students at all middle schools have the opportunity to sit for algebra
Yes.
Dr. Stratus,
at your school.
Daniel, wait one minute. What's the ratio of poverty to non-poverty in our district, do you know?
So if we look at our poverty index, it's in the 60s, mid-60s.
60s, okay, so that would suggest that non-poverty is in the 30s, then, right? Is that,
You're correct.
Yes.
okay.
So if we move poverty students in our district, we are gonna move the all students.
Okay.
That is our largest, and most impactful of our subgroups. When you distill everything down, poverty is the common denominator to the greatest impact on achievement gaps. Research tells us that, our own data, when we distill it, shows us that. That is what would be a VIP, a very important indicator for a student's poverty.
I think that's Ms. Dixon's question. Ms. Dixon, when you was at the middle school, I'm glad we're here. When you was at the middle school and you was teaching algebra 1, what percentage of students took those courses?
I can't give you a
It
percentage.
was a high, I think it was pretty high.
It was pretty high because what we did was, I looked at the map data, from where they said, these are the kids that, qualify for Algebra 1. Then I went a little step further and looked at the ones that were on that cusp that needed a little bit more of a challenge, possibly. So we placed them in there and we said, look, you can do the work, we encouraged them to do it. And we had some that we did a combination of 7th and 8th graders together. What we did was, but I looked at the map data for the students to see who qualified and those that were on the cusp, maybe no more than 5 to 10 points from qualifying by the map data, and placed them in that class and pushed them to do it, and they did.
And one of the things that we've looked at and had started conversation is the AccuPlacer and looking at the threshold points of what's identified to have a child sit for a high school credit course. And that is one of the conversations I think that maybe we need to take a look at where that threshold point is and who is allowing in and who it's not. And then how much flexibility do we have with regard to having that conversation to say, is it a state or is it a local, right? Is it, if it's a local barrier or is it a state barrier, to lend greater opportunities to those children, give the discretion to principals to say, you have this discretion, push the children,
Right.
okay? But it also lends for us as a district to make sure that we provide the support for those teachers as well. Right, so it's a two-part
Well,
conversation.
the AccuPlacer, there is no wiggle room with that
I know.
AccuPlacer. And that
Ready?
is,
I
that is from TCL, that is from
Right.
them. So what we do, since we know that there's no wiggle room there, what we then do is, when they are in the middle school, we do a baseline
Yeah.
with those kids. Those kids who are 5 to 10 points from where they are, we have a course at the high school, an SRB readiness course for college. It is that we have them in there and that teacher is basically getting them ready for that reading and writing piece, because that's the piece that is very important, that they have that reading and the writing part of it. So we make sure that they're in there, and she has gotten very good results from the students that have been in her classroom. 80% or higher of the kids that are in there, they've passed the AccuPlacer testing, and then we just gotta work on the math part of it.
Yeah.
But we look at that data, and we look at the baseline, and we look to see what can we do with our students to help them in the system and support them.
Yeah.
And that's how we get the numbers we do for the college courses that we have at Will Branch Early College High School, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders.
So going back to the conversation, looking at the separation of data and the how, I think one of the things, another item for us to discuss and look at is looking at students in the advanced classes and breaking that information down.
I think that that's a very important piece of 1.1.
So
is all of
maybe
that, so-
something to look at as you're working as board members, maybe that's one of the qualifiers to take a look at when we report at that, because if it's reported, it's monitored, it's
That's right.
important.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And
Deanna, did
this
you wanna-
report, this report is things everyone's already seen. We
Right,
report this as
yes,
it's released, so
yeah.
Right.
that's why it's always been, it can be pushed to a February instead of a November, because nothing here is really surprising, it's all been presented. But the other is not typically, so that's
Right.
where it should be. The final two, graduation rate, college and career ready, we can go over that quickly. We see increases in both, and the main piece with that specifically is to really focus on the increase in students with disabilities. That is huge. There was one point, I think about 7, 8 years ago, our student with disabilities graduation rate was in the 20s. You know, to even come close to 70% is tremendous for those students. It's no longer you're identified students with a student with disabilities, you're not gonna graduate. It's now you're a student with disabilities,
How do we help
how
you
we help you
graduate?
graduate. And then also, how do we help you be college or career ready? That's
So-
that next step.
Daniel, when you see those types of numbers and that type of growth, who does have the conversation as to why?
Well, I know with students with disabilities and graduation rate, that 20-ish point graduation rate sparked in instructional services, the general ed special education collaborative plan. That's when it's not students with disabilities, it's not ISD, it's their students, and they're not ISD. There is
Yes.
a plan, I believe, it's still on the website with the gen ed plan. It sparked far more inclusion. It sparked, linking students with, like Ms. Dixon said, special needs or not, with an SREB class to prepare them for being successful in Algebra 1. If you're successful in Algebra 1, you're more than likely to be successful in high school.
Right.
So there's all those pieces that we looked at and focused on and made a concerted effort to not accept that level of graduation rate. And it's a small group of students,
Yeah.
so it could
So
have
that's
been,
10%.
and when you're looking at graduation, it's looking at maybe 30, 40 students in high school.
Right, make a difference. So those conversations though, like that, have to be had about all these different subgroups, and so that's That's what I would be looking for this particular PE, not just the data, but also the answer to questions like that, so.
I think, Tony, did you have a question?
Thank you, I'm sorry, yes,
No,
I'm sorry, I need a mirror
I always
right
have
there.
questions, you know that. I guess my question would be is, since we are doing so well with our students with disabilities, we seem to be losing other children along the way. And I think if you look at our growth in the areas that we are growing, I think we're also probably losing close to the same amount in some of those other categories. Is there any thought to looking at that? Why the tide is not raising all boats? That's what seems to be happening here, unless I'm reading it wrong.
I'm trying to get, I need you to restate the correct question, Tony. I apologize.
It seems that we're doing, for example, college and career ready. Our poverty students increased by 4.8 over the difference between 17 and 18.
Okay, so,
But our non-poverty students are decreasing by 4.9.
Well, yes.
Okay. My question is, are we saving one group and losing another? And that seems to be pretty true throughout those categories. It seems like we're increasing the efficiency and effectiveness in some groups, subgroups, but yet there are some subgroups that we're dropping. And I'm wondering if what is the cause and effect? Are we focusing on one small group and
well, what I could share with you.
I don't have the answer, I'm just
No,
saying that's just
right.
something that sticks out.
Hit the numbers.
And I know you want to go into the numbers, but I'm going into the human part of
Yep.
it. When I did a presentation 2 board meetings ago and shared, as we looked at the data, we have to address, and looking not only at our kids who are from the bell curve down, but looking at our children at the bell curve and from the bell curve up. And I think that's a mindset that we have to shift as a district, subject to the question you just put forward. It's not just look at one group, put all,
Correct.
everything
We
here.
should be shifting the entire.
Exactly, there should be a wave moves, right?
Correct.
The ocean, right,
Correct.
it just doesn't move this one
Yeah.
part.
Well, that's what I
Exactly,
thought, I heard
agree
that,
with you.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
yeah,
that I
yeah.
understood.
No,
the data.
and I could share with you that our questions going forward as a division, and working with leadership is a continuous movement, it's not just one group or the other, we need to look at the needs of all kids.
The other comment I would like to include here is that there's a way to perhaps put the data over 3 or 4 years to look at trends. That may be a better comparison if we're looking at trends.
Okay,
I mean, I see an improvement here, but I also see, I mean, I don't know what it was in 16, 17, you know.
it's a recommendation that we
Yeah,
can go
it's something
forward
to,
with.
I think that would give us more
To answer
information.
that question,
Yeah.
College and Career Ready didn't start until last year
Yeah.
that we started to measure.
Yeah.
Evaluation.
I wasn't just referring to that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
College and Career.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel, is there anything else that you wanted to bring out on this?
No, that's it, unless, you know, for the
Yeah.
answers, you know, it looks like we lost the students, the non-poverty students. But those students were 9 points above the 78.4% for college and career ready. And then they're 4.1 points above the 85.9. So in honesty, they actually grew a little. Everyone else caught them. So they're still above the 85%. They're at 89. They're at 90% of college and career ready. So the non-poverty students grew. They just, everyone kind of caught them. So they're not a gap. They're not behind in that example.
Let's hope they
So,
graduate quickly.
well, we do have early graduates. So, you know, 78.4, we're looking at, you know, 87.4% for the non-poverty. And then now we're looking at 90. So they actually increased 30% of college and career ready. Now, it looks like when we look at the actual percent above the all, they lost some ground, but everyone else caught them. So I just wanted to show that, you know, our students of non-poverty they don't have a gap. They are the gap, second only to the Caucasian students. They have more room. So I just want to explain the kind of chart there. It's red, they lost ground, half the market red, it's a negative number, yes. But they didn't grow. They just didn't grow as much as some of those groups that helped close the gap.
Forgive me.
I'm struggling too, but the first part.
So,
of the
yeah, so,
It's called massaging.
yeah, so if you look at the, so, just quick on the math. So if you look at the all students for 17-18 for college and career rating, 78.4% of all students for college and career rating. So that positive 9 for the non-poverty, you would be at 87.4%, rounding error here there. So 87.4%. So then now, we look at 18-19, the most recent college and career rating information we have, 85.4%, or sorry, 85.9%. The non-poverty students are still above that by 4.1%, i.e. 90% if we do the quick math. So that is still a growth. They grew. We went from 87 to 90, so 3 percentage point growth of college career ready for the non-poverty
They're
students.
still above
They're still above
the mean, the average.
the all students taught them, or are catching them.
Are we talking about the same number of students?
Yeah, roughly about 1,250 to 1,300 graduates a year. They have to be in the graduation cohort to be in this model. They have to have graduated to be considered yes now.
Right, a minus 4.9% because
Because they went from 9 points above to 4.1%.
I see that, but I mean,
That's the change.
The change.
That's the change.
I understand your explanation, though, would not reflect that kind of change. If the change in the all group is 7.5% positive, you said they grew too,
They grew too.
but
They
they,
didn't grow as much as the all. They didn't grow as much as some of the subgroups. In this indicator, it's not as detrimental, but you could find in a 3rd through 8th grade math or a map data where over time you are, like Mr. Cambius said, we could be losing the white subgroup despite the African American and Hispanic subgroup. So we want to indicate that as well. If we saw that trend over time get larger and larger, then technically what we would be doing is collapsing the ceiling of the group while everyone else caught. That's not what we want. We want
Right.
to continue to push all.
Yeah.
So, the minus 4.9, if that continues, that group will be below the all, and then they would technically become a subgroup that we need to improve. So it's just there to monitor. They grew, it's good, they're at 90%. At some point, we have to see the law of diminishing returns on that subgroup. But we would still push them, and we want to push them just as hard because we expect them
well, I
to
mean,
get
that would make sense to me if I'm thinking from an academic standpoint. If you're up there, there's not much room to grow.
not much room.
It's only 10% to grow if you're at 90%. So you're not gonna grow, as fast as the group that's at 50%.
And with college and career ready, it's a metric that we can continue to push very aggressively on, because it's looking at aligning students to an assessment. Hey, did you take the SAT? Do we need to remediate? You can retake that. You qualify for more scholarship money. Or we know you're interested in joining the military service and you've taken ASVAB. You want to remediate, take the ASVAB again, it increases your opportunities in the armed services. So with this, it's not 3rd grade math where you're trying to catch up, possibly deficiencies in a group. You're literally linking students to the next level. So in this one, we can push, and Ms. Dixon can tell you what she does. No student graduates early from over into the college until their college is pretty ready. That's linking the students to the next level. They're not gonna leave. We don't want them to leave with nothing. So whether it be, a K completer, we put them in CTE and they're, hey, you're one class away, we really need to get you here. So that's why I say we can continue to push this one pretty aggressively.
But may I just speak into what Tony was brought to light, and I'm not sure if you were driving that way, Mr. Campbell, as well. But I'm just gonna look at the graduation rate, and I'm looking at year 2017, right, 2018 to the comparison of the 18-19. How many kids were in the universe of non-poverty from one cohort year to the next? That would have been something maybe to look at, and to look at their performance. I have, okay, it's easy, okay, it's easy. But how many kids were in that universe? Because if the universe was larger from one cohort year to the next, the probability of having a higher mean score or a lower mean score would be there. So I think that's something to look at as well when we present this type of info. Okay? Yeah.
Not only just the percentages, but also the
I think
numbers.
that,
And if our non-poverty students are decreasing in relation to our poverty students,
You would be able to see
that's
that
where
by the
you-
universal
yes,
numbers,
yes.
yes, okay.
They are, I mean, historically, we were at 57%, now we're at 60 point something, so we know already that.
Yeah, so just that type of information, because it just lends for healthier conversation as well, so we're not guessing. Yes, Mr. Campbell, sir.
all right, so I guess the question I have then is, do we accept this PE as is, since it's a presentation of data versus what the PE says? And Daniel, this is no reflection on, I mean, this is just, you're talking about the way that it was done. But for us to go to the board and say that this is the evidence to support that equitable and challenging learning experiences, I don't think we have, what do you guys think about that?
well, I think this is just achievement data. I don't think it says anything about equitable and challenge, like we asked that question. Is there a different PE that this goes with? Do you have, you know? Is there a PE that just says, do we have a PE that just says the achievement data?
Yeah, I think it comes into 1.3, I believe
Assessment,
1.3.
yeah.
Right.
And 1.3, I don't believe has been presented since probably 2012, 2013 timeline-ish. It just kind of vanished.
Into this.
So,
It was
We got
basically
truncated.
truncated
We
into,
got truncated.
And that's probably the reason why we have never addressed this.
okay,
Yes.
develop and implement a comprehensive assessment system for assessing progress toward meeting expectations for student learning.
That's what this is, that's what this data is showing us, right? We have, you know, what assessments have we developed? Well, we haven't developed assessments, but
we
we're
utilize.
utilizing.
Right. So, I mean, could we suggest, Dr. Stratos, that we present to the board 1.3 instead of 1.1,
1.1?
PE 1.3, as
And
this
then
being the
add-
evidence of such?
And make note that then we'll revisit 1.1 because
Yeah.
it will take some time, because the note that I
Right,
made
it
to myself.
should take,
Yeah.
right.
But
it
yeah, I
should, yeah.
do. We need to look at the accelerated courses
Yeah.
from middle school and high school and break that down by subgroups
Right,
and by school.
right.
Okay,
As
and
well-
then define what is the threshold point or metric that allows you to get in and out so that we can
Yes.
have that healthy conversation.
Yes,
So that was kind of a note I made myself.
good. As well as other things indicated by what that PE actually says,
Okay.
okay?
Right, I mean,
So-
the healthy conversation should drive us into a direction that covers our, one of our basic agendas, is closing achievement gap.
Yes.
Right, I
Yeah.
agree.
So-
Yes.
So can we have a motion to accept this information as evidence of PE 1.3 to bring to the full board?
I move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I
I think we should look at the front page though for 1.3 to be sure that this covers everything that's in 1.3.
And that, I was just trying to find that right
Okay.
now.
Oh,
Ron
okay.
sent us the PEs. I thought Daniel had just read it to us.
that was PE 1.1.
So do you have 1.3 there?
I'm pulling it up.
I don't have a,
One,
what I just develop and implement a comprehensive assessment system for assessing progress toward meeting expectations for student learning.
And there's nothing else on there?
So
that's-
1.3, that's
Anything else
1.3.
is just, yeah, what they would,
Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah,
Yep, I can make those edits.
because, yeah, I think this is what,
I do
this is what
too.
they gave us. It's the achievement gap with the achievement data, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, you can change your vote.
Okay, no, thank you for that.
Hey, not a problem.
No, thank you for that historical perspective, because when I was reviewing this, it was great information, but
It doesn't
yeah,
go
Doesn't
with
fall
the,
here.
right.
The motion that's agreed, so then you'll go to the board
this is
With
1.3.
as 1.3,
1.3.
yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. All right, Dr. Stratus, I'd like to get your opinion on the next part and team here. You know, we're at 35 minutes. And we got two still pretty hefty topics.
I'd like to push, if we could push the PEs, and then maybe have some input on the calendar that we brought forward, to get input from everyone in the room, what they'd like to see, little notes, we can make information.
Are we gonna do this in 35 minutes?
We're gonna do it in a half time.
Great,
Because I'm
let's
just-
go.
because we'll take the information, put it together and bring this
sure.
information back.
Okay.
If we led to that, this way we have our PEs to the board,
Yep,
all
okay,
right?
we're good.
We could do this.
So, Jerry, PE 1.10.
You're up. Okay. You're up mathematically, technically, you're still a 1.1.
We already discussed that months ago.
It was not a decimal sign.
As bad as one.
Not a decimal point.
It's not a decimal.
Maybe we should use letters then.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just,
Yes.
1.10.
one A or one C. Can't get the old one, then we got. Okay.
Okay, so this one actually allocate and protect instructional time to support student learning. That is what PE 1.10.
Yes.
It's not a decimal point, it's 1.10.
1.10.
Good evening, academic committee members. As you know, my name is Jerry Henderson, and at this time, I will present and share with the board performance expectation 1.10, instructional time. Documents that was forwarded to Molly to post on board docs includes the performance expectation 1.10, allocate and protect instructional time to support student learning. The PowerPoint that you all have before you, the academic calendar for school year 2019-20, high school master schedule, Well Branch Early College High School, and I didn't know Mrs. Dixon was going to be here today, so we'll be sharing some of her information tonight, this afternoon. Middle school master schedule for Hilton Head Middle School, K-8 master schedule, Robert Smalls International, and these documents are evidence. Elementary school master schedule, Coosa Elementary School, Well Branch Early College High School enrichment plan, the professional development plan for Well Branch Early College High School, the course catalog for high school, which is online, the middle school course catalog, which is also online, but it is in a PDF format, and career technology education courses offered at both the middle and high school level.
Can I just, before you start, is there any historical thing we need to know about this PE?
Well,
Okay.
I don't think it's been reported on
I don't
since
think it has.
2017.
It's been,
And the last time we, yes, and the last that we had documentation is
Okay.
16, actually.
2015.
Is that right?
2016 was 60, but Molly was able to pull the document from 2017.
Okay.
So just wanted to bring that forward. So there wasn't that much of a point of reference right now.
Got it, understand, okay, thank you.
Again, performance expectation 1.10, allocate and protect instructional time to support student learning. Advanced education note that instructional time include time scheduled for purposes of instruction, examinations, testing, and other student activity where direct student-teacher interaction and supervision are maintained. There are two policies that regulate instructional time. State Regulation Section 59-1-425. The instructional day must be at least 6 hours, excluding lunch or the equivalent weekly in accordance with 5.59-1-425. In order to receive Education Funding Act funding, students must attend a minimum of 200 minutes daily or its equivalent for an annual accumulation of 36,000 minutes according to State Regulation 43-172. The district also has an instructional policy, an IS-5, which mirrors the state policy on the school day, and is a combination policy of the school day and moment of silence. And the IS-5 states that the purpose is to establish the basic structure of the length and use of the school day. The length of the school day, again, it mirrors the state policy. The state laws and regulation requires that the length of the instructional day for middle and high school students to be at least 6 hours or its weekly equivalent excluding lunch. The length of the school day for elementary students must be at least 6 hours or its weekly equivalent including lunch. Schools may reduce the length of the school day to not less than 3 hours or no more than 3 hours a day each year for staff development or for the purposes of administering end of semester and end of year examination. The number of instructional hours may vary as determined by the board and does not have to be uniform amongst Beaufort County School District schools. Schools have the priority to teach and learning tasks and should interrupt classes only in cases of emergencies.
Do you prefer questions at the end or in between?
In between.
In between? Okay, may I just ask them?
Sure.
The number of hours in an instructional day may vary as determined by the board and does not have to be uniform. I mean, so, like, all elementary schools don't have to be uniform and all
And
middle
I was
schools?
reading, that's the state guidelines. In our case, for the district, we are uniform. That's the state guidelines
Okay.
as is written in the policy.
But it can.
It
is what
can,
the state-
that is the state
So does it
guidelines,
have
verbatim.
the number of minutes per day?
Uh-huh.
Remember, the longer your day, the state's only paying for that minimum amount, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Right.
always to keep in mind, so you
Right.
add on to
Okay.
the day, who's picking up,
Right,
okay.
the,
Can I just find make- so at the high school level, the 6 hours excludes lunch, but at the elementary level, the 6 hours includes lunch.
That's the state regulation.
Okay.
Verbatim. State regulation 43-231, and I will go farther into the policy at each level, starting now with K-5. The basic program curriculum kindergarten, the curriculum for children pre-K and K shall consist of experiences and activities which will enhance their physical, emotional, social, and intellectual growth and development, and help each child attain at his or her own rate of speed the educational goals set for the primary school. Basic program curriculum, grade 1 through 5. Instruction in the subject area shall be scheduled for each student for a minimum of 1,800 minutes or 30 hours per week, including lunch or equivalent time on a yearly basis. The subject shall include, but not limited to, the following areas: English, language, art, math, science, social studies, health and safety, physical education, visual arts, performing arts, and foreign language. And Read to Succeed Act of 2015 stated that elementary students shall receive level ELA 90 minutes minimum in accordance with Read to Succeed law plus 30 minutes for needed intervention.
So am I reading this to say that the state, these things are required? So is foreign language required at the elementary level by the state?
That is verbatim from the state, and I will be honest with you, I've done all my career secondary, and Carmen Dillon is Director of Elementary Education, so I don't want to say or speak and state something that's
If they're not
incorrect.
saying that a student has to have that as a course,
Shall
but those,
include, but not
right, but those
limited.
courses shall be available.
Okay, all right.
Shall be available.
Okay.
Okay, and next we'll go on to grades 6 through 8. Instruction in subject areas shall be scheduled for each student for a minimum of 1,800 minutes or 30 minutes per week, including lunch or the equivalent time on a yearly basis. The subject again shall include but not be limited to include, again, language, art, mathematics, science, social studies, health, PE, visual, performing arts, exploratory program, foreign language. And some of those exploratory program, and I'll just mention that real quick, are some career technology courses. We have Karen Gilbert here, who's the Director of Career Technology Education. So those are other educational opportunities for middle school students. The school day must be at least 6 hours, including lunch, or its equivalent. And the minimum instructional time or the minimum curriculum requirements for either 4th through 5th or grades 6 through 8 unless otherwise prohibited by law. And one thing, it came up during the Daniel presentation that, and I talk about high school credits for middle school. As we know now, we have high school courses that are offered at the middle school. In the case where that particular middle school does not offer the course, the students go to the high school to enroll in those courses. When approved by a principal and the parent, a student promoted to the 7th or 8th grade may take units of 9th grade or higher work for high school credit. The high school courses offered must be limited to, and I'm gonna highlight that in a moment, limited to core career and technology education and foreign language courses that are currently in the 9th through 8th grade section of the activity coding manual. That actually changed last year with the uniform grading policy. Now at the middle school level, effective May 14th, middle school students can take high school courses that are in the activity coding manual except for physical education. For instance, Beaufort Middle School next year is going to start offering high school art classes because it's an art-infused school. So now the new policy does not limit it to core classes effective last year, May 14th. And also, in the cases where there is a waiver within the district strategic plan, there have been cases where 6th graders have taken high school courses, those exceptional students. Now, 9th through 12th grade, as we know, high school is different than elementary and middle school because students are working on graduating from high school and acquiring those 24 credits that are required for graduation. Each school district must offer a standard-based academic curriculum organized around a career cluster system that provides students with individualized education choices. Requirements for earning a South Carolina high school diploma, 24 credits as noted below, and those core classes that are listed below: 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 2 U.S. history, economics, government, 1 other social studies, PE or JROTC, computer science, foreign language or CATE class, and 7 elective credits, totaling 24. And as we know, a student can graduate up to 32 plus credits from high school. High school continues. The student must pass a high school credit course in science, in which end of course examination is administered. And I'll jump down to the red, you all can do the B and the Roman number 2. A school may award 1 unit of credit for an academic standard-based course that require a minimum of 120 hours of instruction. A student may award 1/2 unit of academic standard-based course requiring 60 hours of instruction, and 1/4 unit of credit for academic standard-based course requiring 30 hours of instruction. And as we know, this school year, we had 85 days the first semester and 95 days this second semester. So a student that was in a 1 credit class first semester could acquire 127 credit hours. So they only need that 127 and 142 this semester. Again, we're going to continue on with 9th through 12th. Any student who receives fewer than 120 hours of instruction during the school year will not be eligible to receive a full unit of credit unless the Board of Trustees approve excessive absences in accordance with Regulation 43-74. And the student must make up the work missed to satisfy the 120 hours requirement unless the credit is earned in a proficiency-based course as permitted under Regulation 43-234. Seat time can be made up before school, after school, and on Saturday school. It also can be made up during summer school, but it has to be made up before at the end of the semester, have 30 days at the end of the semester. In the case of second semester, it can be made up during summer school. A copy of the academic calendar was put in your packet. As we know, we have 180 days for this school year. The academic timeline basically is a checklist, and a copy of that was forwarded to Molly to post on board docs. We have an academic checklist for the IGP plan, a timeline when each grade level should be complete. We have a scheduling timeline when the master schedule should be complete, when the ISD team review the master schedule for accuracy, and that it meets the guidelines. We have a curriculum timeline. When a principal want to offer a new course, they have to submit that request to ISD, and we review that request. If it's a new, or if that new course is an existing course in the district, we're more apt to say yes. If it's a local board approved course, as you all know, it has to come to you all for approval. In that case, we had one, I think Ms. Dixon, you presented one earlier this school year. And we also have an elementary and a middle school timeline, transitional timeline. That helps keep the school on task with those benchmarks when certain actions or tasks need to be completed. And a copy of that is in your packet also.
So those principal will send ISD, the master plan that includes the times and the courses that
Correct.
are being offered, and then ISD approves it and says you can do it?
We have the master schedule.
Confirmation, we don't go ahead and approve because if we don't.
Just confirm that there's the 90 minutes for this.
Exactly.
With the
Exactly.
100
Exactly.
Got it.
Because if you go beyond that, then you're inhibiting scheduling the opening of the school. So they have to be compliant with the required minutes.
Required minutes.
And that,
And the data services department, I would say Crystal Nixon is really diligent. She will look over the master schedule when we receive it, and actually not even the paper was submitted by the principal. Because you can submit something on paper and Power School can indicate something else. And, because the principal may change their course offering from what they submitted. So we have them submit the master schedule at the beginning of the school year and also the beginning of second semester. So, and if they change their master schedule, they have to notify us.
Yeah.
Again, Crystal is really diligent and she'll send up a red flag in a heartbeat
Yeah.
if it's not what, they say is actually noted, or if there's some concerns.
Yeah, I only think about, I mean, I'm not implying anything,
Yes,
other than
yes.
maybe a new principal that might not really know or might have difficulty, you know.
Usually the master schedule is done, so if you bring on a new principal,
Uh-huh.
that master schedule is pretty much done
At the end of the year.
before the end of the year.
And to be a principal, they would have done master schedules. That is one of the, yeah, that and personnel are probably the two most important things.
And we host the master schedule training every other year. We did it year before last, and we'll be doing it again this spring. So we have the master schedule workshop, and the principal has to bring those folks who assist them in preparing the master schedule. The professional development plan, a copy is in your packet, a well-branched professional development plan. It's just a roadmap containing the skill strategies and education teachers need to gain and enhance their skills so they can better educate students. So, Mona, you were talking about your master schedule plan. It's comprehensive, and actually, I even shared that with some folks at the Citadel because her plan is detailed, it's collaborative. You have a leadership team that help you put that together before the beginning of the school year. And what I like about her PD plan is from August to May. So her team know exactly what they're gonna be doing, who's gonna be facilitating it, the subject matter at hand, so there's no guessing when it comes to her PD plan.
Robin, not that one. That's the one that I have to do as a principal, my principal professional development plan that I have to give
There's one in the
to
packet
Dr.
also.
Stratos. But if you go to that Thursday community of professional learning,
And all principals submit that to Dr. Campbell.
right there. This right here, this is, what
And you know it's there.
Gary is saying that we basically, it is done in the beginning, actually at the end of the year. So like right now, we are working on these coaching cycles that we have. This is professional development that all teachers in our building attend, media specialists and school counselors also attend. What we do is we take a survey with our staff to see what their area of refinement is. So we try to basically build their capacity on the SE 4.0 rubric so that we can get them from proficient to exemplary or even from emerging to proficient so that they can tighten up and basically build their capacity on teaching. And therefore, if we build the teacher's capacity, that capacity builds for the students. So this is done in the summer time, so we basically give out a lot of surveys to our faculty to get the information from not only that, but from also SE Lead, where we do our, that's the new State Department where we go in and put our observations and formal observations into. So we get reports from there as well. But we survey our faculty, and we also get from our Google Drive that we have when we do walkthroughs and observations. So we know which coaching cycles that we want to pinpoint and be strategic to move our school.
And the state has actually taken a position on request from Beaufort County that walkthroughs now can be input at the state level. It was not there prior to, we made a recommendation, they accepted it.
And Mona also has a new teacher training that she does with her new teachers to ensure that they have those skill set and expertise in those programs that your existing staff has. You know, they're coming here, they don't have that knowledge. So she also, in addition to this, she has the new teacher training. In regards, again, that's the professional development. The course catalog to show our course offering, we have 2 course catalogs. We have the high school course catalog, which went online as of last year. And I will use this term figuratively. Karen Gilbert and I, we felt like we gave birth to that. We worked on it for 6 months last school year. And it's something that we're proud of, and it's under Instructional Service Department. If you ever have a chance, can you pull it up for us? Possibly, Robin? It's under the district website under instructional. Instructional Service Department. And it's a visual, interactive where, what I love about it, it's not just a PDF for high school. It has broken it down to the course offerings, the CAPE, the career college readiness standards. And if you can click on the course offering at the top, Robin, and go down, scroll down. And every page on the course catalog has the high school graduation requirements. And if you click on a subject area, like for instance, I'll say fine arts, it'll list all the fine arts classes that are here, offered here in the district. And if you click on the subject itself, it'll give a description of that course. Go down to the bottom, some more. And there's a video associated with each one. Click on fine arts. There's a video on each page. And if you click on the subject itself, it'll give you a description. You can click on any one. So it was a birthing process, but we're proud of how it turned out. And what I love about it being online, we can go in and update and edit. You don't have to wait to the end of the year, unlike with a PDF. Again, do they do? I do.
Just
No, but
some
I'm glad to
feedback.
hear that.
And answers to questions.
Yes, well, I'm glad to hear that. And you can go to the, let's go back to the again and again, and let's click on CTE, go back to the again. Instructional. Yeah, just go back right now. And again, there are videos for each section.
Go back one more.
One more. Okay, and then we go to the left bar, on the one, yeah, right there, right there in the center, at the bottom. At the bottom.
No,
In the center.
CTE,
Career.
career tech, right there. No.
Click on the text.
You
on the
got too
text.
many people calling that. Right here?
Yes.
Different language.
Yeah.
Okay, just scroll down. And those are the clusters and that are offered in Beaufort County School District, and you can click on any one, Robin. And again, there are videos associated with everything. So that's good for a parent that's possibly en route here, that's gonna relocate. It gives them an overview, in-depth overview of the course offering. And the middle school is PDF. We hopefully we'll be changing that over real soon. And that'll be a process that we're looking forward to. And currently in the district, we have 15 career clusters, 31 pathways, and over 100 CTE courses. And I have to give credit to Karen Gilbert for that. And I know when I was at the school level, that was not the case. The K completers they were basically non-existent 4 or 5 years ago. And Karen came in and made a big difference. And it's been a collaborative effort, and she has really made a difference in that regard. And one other thing in regards to enrichment that is offered at each school, Mrs. Dixon has an in-depth warrior time enrichment, and that's time for intervention for the students, for those students that may need academic assistance or behavioral assistance, or those successful students, they just, what are your success students that don't need it? But they have life skill classes, as a matter of fact. That was the LBA course, that was part of that.
You came and you talked to us about
Exactly.
that, right? And you had
So-
we had to.
So are there any questions at this time in regards to the time allocated?
You know, the only question I might have is that when you go into the strategic plan, underneath this indicator, it says ensure that district-wide procedures are in place to maximize instructional time. And so that's why I was asking about what are the district-wide procedures to ensure that maximize the instructional time. So I think you've answered some of that when you said that the principals at all levels, right?
Correct.
And so how do you ensure that if, some seat time is missed, how do you ensure that that's made up?
That's a good question. Well, the principals have the social workers manage seat time.
Well, we have a system. At Wilbur, we have a system
But this is
that,
district-wide, so is there a district-wide system?
Yeah.
The school social workers monitor seat time.
There's not a unified system that's been identified in a handbook, so the answer to that is no.
And
You might put a consistency of practice, it's very easy for us to work at that. you give me a second, I'll make a note of that,
Okay.
okay? Because one of the things we are looking is the opportunity of one voice,
Yeah.
one district.
Yeah.
And right now, each school has different procedures to monitor it. And, but is it systematic and identical at each high school? The answer is no. But each school has its own system of processes and procedures. And I think, and I'll be honest with you, that's one of the concerns we do have, because we get phone calls from parents in regards to that.
Right, right.
We do.
Yeah.
We get, and emails, so we do know that for a
So we wanna
fact.
be able to at least put together some guidelines.
Right.
Not to say that the
Yes.
principal can do this, because
Yes.
each school is unique, has its
Yeah.
own culture and pulse, but we need to have some guidelines identified, so, and I apologize, but, so.
No, but just
we
because
be
you started out by
specific, yeah.
saying the state says you have to have
Oh,
so
yes.
many hours, and you
Yeah, oh,
can't
yes.
get, you know, and so there are times when, and so I'm just wondering, since our strategic plan says ensure that district-wide procedures are in place to maximize instructional time, what is that district-wide procedure? Or what are those procedures?
And again, we'll be fine tuning, as Daniel said, this hasn't been looked at,
I
and
know,
so,
thank you,
so.
Right, yes.
it's
So
one
that
of
would be
those
a
things.
question that I
Okay,
have.
definitely.
And the wording that Tricia's talking about, that is ensure, that's from the strategic plan. The PE says just allocate and protect instructional time to support, but listed next to it are the items from the strategic plan.
Right.
And so we
Correct.
should be,
Right,
we should be talking,
Yes,
same,
yeah,
should be,
yeah, it should be the same.
right.
Okay.
All right, thank you. This was a lot of answers to a lot of questions about how all this is done, so I appreciate it.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
I'd like to move that, we, approve PE 1.10 to, ask the academic committee to take forward to the full board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All of us, aye. Okay. And, would you like this at the next?
Well, you're gonna be doing your agenda setting tomorrow.
Yeah,
right.
So I think that
So
might
we
be a
can-
point of conversation.
It might be,
And then you'll communicate with me.
Yeah, you guys will let,
Because we
drive us
have
know. Thank you, Ms. Henderson, thank you.
110 and 11. Well, we changed 11 to 13 to 110, and then the other one was 12. Yeah. So we'll.
We were also.
Love it on two, one,
It was so much easier.
Okay, so the last thing on our agenda is to, Dr. Stratus
Yeah.
has some, thoughts on a
Well,
recommendation.
actually, I'm gonna ask you, I gave each of you, hopefully some of you may have gotten more than one. You got 8? You have 3 sticky notes. This is the same calendar that was proposed and brought in a prior meeting. What I need from you, because of the amount of time we have left, you have 3 sticky notes. On each sticky note, one thing you would like the calendar for, to include, one thing, for example. Maybe we wanna have, please keep it up, this is an election year coming up, right? So we know election day, we're gonna be closed, because our school sites are utilized as voting sites. But maybe we wanna look at Veterans Day, maybe you wanna have a discussion, looking at this calendar, this is an idea. Where would you like to see PE professional development days? Do you wanna have a teacher work day at the end of every semester? That would be something I may recommend, makes it a little easier. So 3 priorities for you on the calendar. Instead of me walking through 2 items that we've put together, I can go through now, finding out what's most important to you and codify it and put it together and see if we can get that working into the calendar for us. I just want three ideas for you. What are 3 priorities for you? Did I not give you homework, young lady? Let me give you 3 sticky notes.
So Dr. Stratus, you're not asking,
She's just holding it for me.
you're not asking us at this time to,
Approve?
no, okay, no, not, to even ask about whether we prefer the 85, 95.
That could be one of the things for you.
So then I'd like to hear from Daniel as far as some data that might either support one or negate the other. Because I think that is just really crucial. Now, I can tell you, sure, no, it's not high school on November 11th, but at the same time, what's best? What's best for instruction?
Right.
So, we did look at some numbers.
Oh, I know, because
We have.
yes.
We have some information that we could share. One of the things that's gonna be blatant when you, and I think maybe report first, Dan, will be graduation information. To me, that's probably the most blatant
Yeah, so.
numbers to report right now.
So when it comes to the 85, 95, the number one thing you have to consider there is the ability or with 4x4, the level and the ability for students to graduate in the fall and go somewhere or do something. So when you go to the traditional calendar or you go to try to move to after January, so all the way back to the class of 2013, we only had 24 early graduates out of all those students. 1,041 on-time graduates, 22 late graduates. And I went to the level of detail telling you when they graduated. 2014, 25 early graduates. I don't even do the on-time and late anymore. Class of 2015, 29 early graduates. That was the last year of the traditional schedule. The first year of the 4x4, we had 67 early graduates. The second year, we had 139 early graduates. The class of 2018, so the third full year, 154 early graduates. Class of 2019, 148 early graduates. And so far for the class of 2020, 131 students have graduated early. There are students that are graduating and in their junior year.
And are we tracking them? Where are they going? So are,
What good is it?
yeah, so what good is it? Are these kids that are graduating and then don't have a job? So where are they going after that? Is this,
So let me, because it would be wonderful if we had that type of R&D. I'm always the one giving you that but technically, we're only supposed, after graduation, is 6 months after to find out what you're doing with it, right? And that's where we stop, right? What we need better, and I met with USCB and TCL at point of registration, at least to the local colleges, that they give some type of communication back to us. That if they're registering kids and they can just put it in, drop their registration into an Excel or into a CSV file, so we can have some idea if our kids are still, that's the type of communication that we're trying to develop at the next level of our relationship with them, because we wanna know where our kids are and how they're doing. We don't have access to their grades or anything, but are they completers?
right, because, we're talking
And they have to
6
keep that
times.
data for federal money anyway,
Right,
so.
but to what end? So they're graduating early, to what end though? So is this a core belief that we think graduating early is great, but only if it leads to what?
And if they're leaving to work or they're leaving to
That's a
graduate early,
self-motivated.
you're self-motivated, and you have to apply to graduate early. When you went to the state of South Carolina. So to become an early graduate, you just don't come to December and say, 24
Right.
credits, see you later.
No.
No, you don't get to
Okay.
do that. You
Thank
have
you,
to be
that's good
approved.
information
You have to be approved
Approved.
beforehand before your diploma can be
by
ordered.
the state.
We do have to order.
By the state and also by ourselves.
Local.
What we do is we basically, by
By the last day of the
October
first
7th,
quarter, last day of the first-
17th or 17th, somewhere, but they have to, the parents, the child have to meet with the principal and their school counselor. Before I even meet with them, they have to write me up a letter stating their wishes, why they want to graduate early, and what are they going to be doing
Okay.
after they graduate in December.
Okay.
They also know that they have to be college and career ready. If they're not college and career ready, don't even send me the letter, don't even draft
They
it.
have to meet all the
They have to meet all the
Okay.
requirements
So it's a
for
good
that.
thing then.
Yeah,
It's a good
and
thing.
It
it's
is.
multiple good things. It's
Okay.
putting students where they need to be,
But
but
there's
only,
two things with that, but.
yeah.
Good.
No, you can, wait, but don't forget your homework, you're supposed to give
Is
that.
that district-wide, or is
So
that just one program?
Sorry.
No, that's many of the schools do, and the state
But it's not
requirements.
district-wide.
So the state requirements that you have to declare early and you have to have a plan, that's
Yeah,
state.
I know that's state, but I mean, what,
Do we
I
have
mean,
a
what do we-
criteria of
yeah,
college
what's our
and career
program?
ready to
Yeah.
graduate?
Yeah, so what you're resonating is what I would call, at some point in my life, it would be a student progression plan. That's a unified practice for us as a district beyond the ARs that we have. You know, and that's something that I could work with Jerry. But the development of that unified progression plan, that we say, this is what we're gonna do from academics through athletics, right? This is what we're doing, a unified voice as a district. It will take some time in development and to define the categories of conversation. We have looked at some student progression plans from other districts, so it gives everyone at a high school to say, you can do it, but at a minimum, it has to be this is what we do. We are Beaufort County School District.
Yeah, let's just start with the exit plan.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
the exit
then-
plan,
Yeah, if it's a good exit plan, then we can do some more
yes.
follow-up, but, you know, it's gonna be hard to follow people who remain leaving here and decide even
Or is
to
everyone doing a
junior college.
senior
Yeah.
survey at graduation?
Yeah.
You do a survey.
So,
And they do a plan.
So when does TCL and like USCB, when do the colleges traditionally start that second semester? I'm feeling like I looked this up last year and it turned out to be, it was mid-January, not right
Like the
back
second
to
week,
the
second week of January.
That's what, about the second week.
And then if you have kids that, like, we had we've had a couple of our kids that graduated early, they went into the service. This green son went into the service, and then they come back for graduation, and they graduate in their military uniform. We've had several, Niles Pickney that graduated in December, went to Clemson, started in January. We had Jaheim and Irvin Mulligan go to Wofford. They started in January. So for those kids that, that have a plan, and they know, they go, and you have some that go to TCL, and we check on to make sure that they have gotten in to do what they're supposed to do, but they have to meet all the criteria and have a meeting with myself and the parents and the counselor.
And what about the testing data in terms of EOC scores and grades for students that have the 85 day semester versus the students that have the 95?
Yeah, so when we look at the EOC data, and then we look at the percent of students passing, again, back to 2013-14, no students took fall testing. There were no fall tests, we didn't have that option. In 2013-14, there's only 15 students who took fall testing. They were on an off cycle from transferring in. They had about a 53% passage rate. Same in 14-15, same numbers, so 15 and 53. 15-16 gets to the first 4x4, the 85-95, 78.9% passage rate. Now that's a combination of all EOCs together. 78.9% of EOC students were passed. Spring was 74.3. And I teased the middle school out of this data. This is just high school. This is only students that were on 85, 95.
Yeah, because
So that's not looking at apples and oranges, that's looking at apples, just with different days. 16-17, it was a 77.1% versus fall, 77.1, 75.4 spring, 77.4 for this 17-18 school year versus 74.5. 18-19, 74.4, 73. And the 2019-20 year, English 1 is in here, so it's going to be out for the spring, so we'll have to recalculate everything and account for it. It's 71.4 so far passage rate for this fall. And that does include the English 1 assessment. We're not going to have that, so we're going to try to, once we get English 2 data from that fall, once they get everything aligned and release it to it, we'll be able to update that number. Don't think, don't be chicken little and think that,
So the trend has actually shown a decline? A slight decline in form, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
second-
And why would you say?
makes sense.
I want the year to end. And it's just the nature of students.
Yeah.
That nothing, give you the same quality instructions, everything the same, but the human being at this point is 3 weeks before the end of the semester, the end of the school year. it's,
They're also taking a lot more.
I know what happens,
Yeah.
yes.
A lot of these kids, by the way, are taking other high-stake exams. So you're asking them, in the spring, they're taking APs, they're taking, so they're just spread thin.
Tony has a question.
Dan, is the study you did also with the state that have balanced semesters? How do those numbers, percentages compare with balanced semesters?
They don't release to
The
us.
state has the data.
The state
On
does,
grades?
Yes,
and it requests, it requires.
you have to
for us
apply, you have to
full,
apply for it, and
FOIA.
they'll give you the 90-day.
FOIA from the state, even as a district.
We provide it for our district right now.
I was just wondering if we could do, how.
Yeah, we've requested that, because it does bring into another level of what they don't give us is the calendar. And they told us we have to FOIA that from them. Yeah.
So when this semester ends.
The issues of high stakes testing, that's true across the state. The issue of kids going into military, that's true across the state. Those issues are pretty commonalities, and the data that shows it, you're talking about 3%, maybe 2% on any given semester. I think there's other things also that you could look at when you're making this decision. I think you have to look at that. Basically, the average of 1,600 kids take end-of-course exams, and we educate 22,000. How does this semester, this calendar affect other students who are not in the end-of-course? I think there's a lot of factors to consider. I think you can cherry-pick data to present the argument you want to present.
We weren't trying to
No,
share
I'm just
with you.
saying, I'm saying
Yeah,
that.
but my direction to Dana was to pull ELC data, graduation data, and comparison. There wasn't any cherry picking.
No, but I'm saying, I was not implying, yeah.
But there's
That's not
also
what I
a
was
time
implying.
limitation with regard to how much you wanted to go into the analysis. So we were looking at our universe, at the point of looking at comparison to other universe.
Yes.
Right, because every time I pull staff, it takes time to pull information together. And I said it once before and I'll say it again, there's still other responsibilities we as a division have to handle. So we try to keep it to our universe first, and in order to be able to report, so yes.
Ms. Dixon and Mr. Fallon, just in your experiences, your worlds, do you think there are more failures by absences on an 85-day semester compared to a 95-day?
So if we're looking at ELA courses, for example, back to 13-14, roughly 5.8% failure absences, incomplete withdrawal failure, withdrawal passing. So one of those 5.8%. To 18-19, I'll skip through all the iterations of just fluctuations. 18-19 for ELA courses, because we're done with the spring semester. We're not within the 30 days. Then again, 5.6%. So it's a little bit of a up and down, but honestly, it's 5.8 ranges up to 6.9, down to 4.8, 5.1, 5.6.
Okay.
Students are able to, within the actual block system, but then also have that remediation for the Fs.
That's what you're saying, okay.
And the FAs, in whole, students that have FAs are coming in and making up seat time. They don't want to lose the credit for something as trivial as I missed a couple extra days.
Okay.
They're gonna make that up. They're not gonna throw away 118 hours.
So they
for
just
two.
know the parameters,
They know the
this is a limit,
parameters,
this
they
is
come
what I
in,
have to
they
do.
make them up. Now we have 30 days to do it under
Right.
regulation. So when all this was pulled, we were right on the verge there. So our department actually, before the 30 days comes up, we send out to all the schools, hey, these are your students with FAs. Please make sure everything's, if they're an FA, they're really an FA. So they're still in the process of updating those scored grades.
And as we go forward, our strategic plan and look at a proficiency waiver, that may be something else, that conversation regarding seat time and utilizing efficiency.
Yeah.
You have a question behind?
Yes, staying within our world, can we do that course-wise?
That was ELA courses.
No,
That was just an
can
example of
we
ELA.
do it with other courses as well?
Yep, math courses, we did math courses, we did dual enrollment courses. Yep.
And the data is pretty consistent?
So with math courses, 2013-14 was 11.7, ranged to down to 9.2, and then in 18-19 was 11.2. 19-20 we're still cleaning up from the first semester, so we can't report that as a full year, but virtually 0.5% change, so no much difference there. And then for dual enrollment courses, 4.6% 13-14, up as high as 7.6 and 14-15, 3.8 and 19-20, or 18-19, sorry, 18-19, 3.8. So
can you give us some
decline.
restatement? Give us some
So
restatement.
really, when we look at FAs from 2013 to 2018-19, there's not much significant difference in the FAs, incompletes, withdrawals, withdrawal failure, withdrawal passing.
And you went to the 85, 95, and 15, 16?
Yeah, so 15-16 was the first year of the 85-95, so we made sure to account for that,
And
highlight
we
that.
look at it for all high schools.
All high schools, and we just pulled those, English, math, and then the dual enrollment courses.
Okay.
And that's from stored grades, so that's where it ends up on the transcript.
Didn't we on 4x4 way back?
Way
Way back there.
Remember you had way back, you had a certain school that was on a 4x4, and then you had other schools that were on an 8A B-Day
Yes.
school, 8A B-Day schedule. And the 8A B-Day schedule, you had kids that would be forgetting things because, okay, I have an 8A book bag and I have a B-Day book bag.
Yeah, at the high
And
school.
that's, right, at the high school.
Disadvantages, yeah.
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 Advantages.
That'd be nice for everyone.
And advantages, yes. But I was just, gonna ask if you had any stats on that time period. Because I'm sure you're gonna get the same things, consistently speaking, just
we
the
pretty much
nature of
only
the
be able
beast.
to- Yeah, we pretty much only be able to look at failures. But even then, with the some of the changes with withdrawal passing, withdrawal failing, that's changed in state law, it would be hard to go back 10 years.
Yeah, I'm
But
just saying the
we
trend
would
from
see
year to year,
very similar.
yeah. Not much fluctuation in terms of absentees, failures, but, not much fluctuation, except maybe the spring is always gonna be a weaker academic performing time. Yeah, you can make it 90-90, you can make it whatever. The spring is just, students are worn out. Our area leads to the beach and an easy absentee. So, it's not like you're snowbound, you're going to school. So that's the kind of stuff that you have to put into account, which is not written.
Have we had a 90-90 in recent history?
I can't speak to that.
Nah.
Would a 90-90,
That's all.
help with building in snow days, or not snow days, I'm sorry, I meant hurricane
Hurricane
days.
days.
Snow. Hurricane days, I was thinking snowbound, yeah.
It all depends on how we just place that in the 85, 95. It all depends on how we place it out. There's flexibility that can be pushed out on the calendar. There is some flexibility. The decision comes, how long do you want off for Thanksgiving? What is sacred for you, during the winter holiday, Thanksgiving? Those are key conversations. Right, this year, we used Monday, Tuesday, and half a day on that Wednesday. Everyone survived because we all knew that the winter holiday was right around the corner. So there's flexibility at the design.
Okay. So you would like everybody maybe.
Please put your sticky notes on the calendar.
Okay, so let's adjourn the meeting then, and then people can just do that at their.
You have one?
I
No, I haven't written anything yet.
Great.